So I, again, am so excited about this list of presenters we have with us this evening. And I'm going to give a brief introduction of each and have them unmute quickly and kind of say a quick hello so you can hear from them and attach a face to a name. So our first is Morgan Abate, and Morgan is the Advise Michigan College Advisor for Brethren High School and Casman Academy in Manistee County.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Morgan. And then we also have Jaylee Brown, who is another Advise Michigan College Advisor for Bear Lake High School and Onekama High School in Manistee County.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Jaylee. And then we have Trevor Puri, who is part of the MSU College Advising Corps, the Michigan State University College Advising Corps. And he serves at Mason County Central and Mason County Eastern and Mason County.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Trevor. And then Emma was not able to be with us, but for those of you in Oceana County, just so that you know that you have a great college advisor at Hart High School and Shelby High School named Emma Urbanski, who helped put this presentation together and can be a great resource for you there. In terms of our Community Foundation partners, we have Andrea Large, who is the Executive Director for the Community Foundation for Mason County.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Andrea. And then I already introduced myself. Again, I'm Hannah Rodriguez, and I'm the Program Officer for the Manistee County Community Foundation. And we have Danielle Siegel, who's the Scholarship Coordinator at the Community Foundation for Oceana County.
Hey, guys.
All right. Thank you all for being here and for being willing to share some great information with us this evening. And so to kick things off, to talk about our scholarship searches and where to begin, I am going to kick it over to Morgan to get us started.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. So you guys all may be asking yourselves, where do I begin the scholarship search? There's so many different types of scholarships, and they can be found all over the place. Just to break it down a little bit, there are 3 types of scholarships. The first being national scholarships, and as the name implies, anyone in the country can apply for these scholarships. So you may have heard of like the Bill Gates Foundation or like the Coca-Cola Scholarship. These would all fall into that category. And I'm just going to jump down to the second bullet real quick. To find a lot of those national scholarships, you can find them on websites. Sorry, websites like FastWeb and Scholly, Going Merry. Those are all sites where you can create an account and you're able to keep track of all the scholarships you applied for. You can create a profile where it will automatically sketch you or match you up with scholarships. So those can all be a great place to start. The second type are institutional scholarships, and these will be from the college. When you were applying to colleges, you may have heard of merit-based scholarships, and these are scholarships that you'll likely get for just being accepted into the college based off of your high school GPA and your SAT score. But colleges also often have additional institutional scholarships that you can find through your financial aid office or even through like their own like search or their own databases. For example, I know West Shore, once you have a student account, you can go to the My Scholarships page and find a bunch there as well. Then the last type are the local scholarships that can be found right in your community. And we're going to talk about those in just a little bit. So one of my first suggestions to all of you before you kind of start your scholarship search is to complete the FAFSA early. I say this because once you complete that, you'll start getting some financial aid awards and packages back, and then you'll be able to determine how much more money you may need to cover those out-of-pocket costs, or you can kind of see how much scholarships you should try to get to cover any costs that might be from loans, so you can avoid that. And I also say that too because some scholarships will require you to include your student aid report or your SAR, which I think will be mentioned too later in the presentation when we talk about those community-based scholarships. My second suggestion is to have a resume or some sort of document where you list all of your awards, activities, and volunteer experiences, just so you have a place to start maybe when you are thinking about what you might want to write in an essay. Or you can also, it can be handy when you might have to type in to like all of your experiences onto an online application or even upload a resume. And also, you may start to notice that a lot of those essay questions are very similar to each other. So don't create more work for yourself. So you can probably use one essay for multiple scholarship applications. And then, of course, always proofread. You want to present yourself well to the scholarship readers. And then one last tip, which I think is one of the biggest tips I can give anyone when it comes to essays, is don't just write about an accomplishment. Write about, well, of course, write about it, but also include why that experience was important to you, or maybe how it changed your perspective or what you learned from that experience. Just by adding those elements can create a lot of depth to your scholarship essays. For example, don't just talk about being on the basketball team or being the team captain. Talk about too how you were a leader. Demonstrating those skills that you might want to have in a job interview in a way. You're like how you have a good work ethic, how you can balance multiple things going on in your life. So that will really help make your essays stand out to any of the scholarship readers. And with that, I will pass it on to Jaylee.
Thank you, Morgan. So I will just piggyback off a lot of the things that Morgan stated in that first slide. So really reiterating that the FAFSA is super important. So whether you're doing that for the national scholarships, the institutional, but then also the local scholarships, which we'll be talking about now. So why apply locally? Well, there's a lot of benefits. One of the biggest benefits is that there are way fewer applicants than the national or institute, because like Morgan had stated, the whole country is in for the national scholarships. So fewer applicants, which means that you're going to have greater odds of winning. Another benefit is that your community ties and connections. So a lot of those local scholarships, they're going to be coming from local businesses, the trades that are in your community. So you already know of many of those organizations, many of those businesses. So you have closer ties with them, and you're connected. So you're going to be familiar with them. Also, as I am a college advisor and Morgan is a college advisor as well, we know a lot about the local scholarships, as well as any counselors, school counselors at your school. So we are well versed. We've dealt with them in the past. So oftentimes we get reached out by local donors for scholarships. So that's how we know about a lot of them. But then also they get renewed. So many that were there last year should be here this year. So we know a lot about those. But then also things to remember. Morgan had some great tips on the essays and everything, but also referring to the scholarship eligibility. If you're not eligible, then they're not going to read your scholarship. They're not going to read your application. They'll just toss it out. So make sure you are eligible. Make sure you know the application process. So how you need to write an essay. Maybe it needs to be, your essay just needs to be sent in an envelope to that business or that organization. Make sure you're following the process that they're asking for. And then deadlines. I cannot say that enough. Maybe you're in high school, maybe deadlines get pushed back a little bit, so that can benefit you. That's not going to happen for this. This is part of the adulting experience. You're going to be put to those deadlines and they're expected to be sent in at those times. So maybe it's due on a certain day, but if you're mailing it in, just making sure you have it mailed in before that date, because then they'll be able to see when it was stamped, and then they'll know that you had it sent in before the deadline. But then also I did want to put in there, thank you notes are huge. So especially for those local ones, because those are people in your community usually that will know your school, and they could possibly know you as an individual, and they really respect that they get a thank you note. They don't have to be doing scholarships. And like you can see down low on this slide, that our local businesses, organizations, and trades, they want to see our students succeed. They want to see us rising up and furthering our education. So they don't have to be offering this money, but they are. So thank you notes are definitely something to think about. And then quickly before we move on, you may be asking yourself, well, what does local really consider? What does that refer to? So you can think of local businesses. So like I have on here, trades down at the bottom. So your HVAC, your construction trades. So maybe local construction workers or companies might have a scholarship because they want to see the trades continue on, and they want more students to be going towards that. There's also retail stores, previous and current employers, making sure you're asking around those businesses. Local organizations such as our foundations that we are putting on this presentation today, local clubs like the Lions Club or Rotary, and then also religious affiliations. So a lot of churches end up having some scholarships. So there are many places to reach out locally. But just like I said on the slide, make sure you're asking the counselors and college advisors, because we know a lot of stuff that's out there.
All right. Thank you, Jaylee and Morgan. I appreciate that. And that brings us right to talking about some local scholarships and a bulk of local scholarships that come from your local community foundations. So I wanted to give just a brief overview of what a community foundation is and does for those who might not be as familiar. And community foundations are grant-making public charities, and we are dedicated to really improving the lives of people in a defined geographic area. So each of us represent one county in our region, and we really serve their needs. So our purpose is to bring together financial resources of individuals, families, businesses, to support community needs and affect change. And while we all share in a similar purpose, we each have unique priorities that we base on the needs and conditions of our individual communities. So a lot of us are doing the same things, we have scholarship programs, but how we operate that is really dependent upon what our community needs. And it's because of generous donors and because of our ability to garner those resources that we are able to offer thousands of dollars in scholarships every year. So we each wanted to share with you a little bit about our application and our process. So you can see in this chart some basics about each of our scholarships. And each one of us will kind of go through what we have to offer, what our timeline is, and just give you a little glimpse into what you can expect when you apply. The first thing I want to mention, and this applies to all three community foundations, Manistee, Mason, and Oceana, is that we all have what's called a common scholarship application. And this is really beneficial to you because what it means is that you can complete one application and fill in all of the information that you're being asked to. And while we hold lots of different scholarships and scholarship funds, we are going to be able to, based on what you share with us, determine which of those funds you are eligible for. So for example, in Manistee, we have about 14 or 15 different scholarship funds, but we're only asking you to complete one application. And from what you tell us, we can determine what you might be eligible for. So when we're talking about this process, we're really talking about one application, which is helpful to you and saves you some time. So in Manistee, our application window runs between January 1st and March 1st, so it is not yet opened up yet. You're getting a jump on it if you're from Manistee County, but if you go to our website now, there's some helpful resources. We do have some other important deadlines, and those really depend on a couple of unique scholarship funds that have additional requirements. So when you go to our website, you can navigate to our list of scholarship funds, and there are two awards on there, that require some additional information, and there's a little bit of an extended period beyond March 1st that you have to submit that. So just make sure if you're interested in either one of those scholarships that you pay attention to those details. In terms of eligibility requirements, our scholarships are open to graduating Manistee County High School students or early or middle college students that have originated from a Manistee County high school. We also have some that are available to continuing college going students, but for that, we really encourage you to contact us. There are a few pretty specific funds that are available to students in that demographic. And so again, we encourage you to reach out so we can make sure that you are eligible before you take the time to apply. To learn more about our application and our process, you can visit our website at manisteefoundation.org, or you can contact me directly and I can point you in the right direction. And so I will kick it over to Andrea to talk about the process in Mason County.
Thank you, Hannah. I'm so happy to be here to share information about our scholarship program. Our application opened October 1st, so it is currently open, and applications are due by February 1st. And we do this so it gives us time to process the applications and get the awards made into families by April 1st so that they can make that decision before college decision day. Oftentimes that's when deposits are due at college, and it also lets the high schools know in advance that was a request from them so they can prepare for their scholarship assemblies. So February 1st is when the application is due, and also your student aid report is due that day, and your transcript, and then hopefully your FAFSA will have already been done, but if it hasn't, the student aid report comes from the FAFSA, so that should have been done, and that will be due on that day as well. Multi-year scholarships, the renewals are due by March 1st. And eligibility requirements for us, you have to be a resident of Mason County and a graduate of a local school. So we have college scholarships. If you're already in college, we do offer college scholarships as well as graduating high school scholarships of students going to school. So for more information, you can go to our website. We have an online application there and when you click in the scholarship section, it will give you specific directions step by step of how to complete the application. One thing that I would like to note about Mason County scholarships is in Mason County, we have the Mason County Promise, which is not a scholarship through the foundation, but students graduating from any high school in Mason County that live within those boundaries and have a minimum of a 2.0 GPA can qualify for the Mason County Promise. And this pays for 2 years of college at West Shore Community College, and so are up to an associate's degree. So a lot of kids don't apply for our scholarship if they think they're going to go to West Shore and they apply for the Promise, but we encourage you to do so because our Promise is a middle dollar scholarship, which means that first, if you qualify for any student aid, that comes into play first. Then the Promise kicks in, and then if you receive any other scholarships, those dollars come back to you, and you can either save them for your future education if you're going on for year 3 or year 4, or you can use it for books, transportation, other expenses that are associated with college. So even if you're going to apply for the Mason County Promise, we encourage you to apply for foundation scholarships because those dollars will help you as well. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And now I'm going to kick it over to Danielle.
Thanks, Andrea. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat again that this is one scholarship application in Oceana County that's going to put you in this pot for over 42 different scholarships that are all housed in the Oceana Community Foundation. And that application is open from October 1st until March 15th. Also, by that March 15th date, we will need your transcripts and your student aid report, which is the report you get back from the federal government when you complete the FAFSA. We do house a scholarship program for the 4-H, and there's an additional form that needs to be filled out for that one, and that needs to be in by like mid-March. We'll often reach out to students and let them know if they're qualified for that scholarship that we need them to fill out that form. So last year we gave out over $230,000 in scholarships to 138 students. So definitely want to encourage any students in Oceana County to apply. The eligibility requirements vary a little bit because we have scholarships for graduating seniors, for current college students, and for adults who are looking to return to school. So you must be either a resident of Oceana County or a graduate of an Oceana County school. So that is where the adult scholarships come into play. If they graduated from a high school elsewhere but currently live in Oceana County, they're still eligible for those scholarships. More information, as well as the link to our application, is found on our website at oceanafoundation.org. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Danielle and Andrea. I just wanted to reiterate something that Andrea mentioned about the promise and you know, thinking about if you have a significant scholarship award or opportunity like that, it is still a great idea, as Andrea said, to continue to apply for other opportunities. There are a lot of expenses associated with college that may not be accounted for in your award letter that you receive. So it's really, really important to take advantage of every opportunity you can.
In addition to that, Hannah, I just want to point out that when we are talking about college here, we're talking about any post-secondary education. So if you're entering an apprenticeship or a skilled trade certificate program or any of those types, and associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, and beyond, we have scholarships for all of those.
Thank you, Danielle. That is an important distinction and something that I know all 3 local college access networks are all about promoting. So we mean, when we say college, we mean any type of post-secondary education. So thank you. So Jaylee talked about this a little bit already, I think, but these are just a few other ways you can think about considering other opportunities for local scholarships, like we talked about previously. Okay, I think that was it. Anything I missed, my fellow presenters, before we open it up for the Q&A?
I think we're good.
Okay, so before we start taking questions from the chat, I did want to pose a few questions to our panelists for the evening and see what they have to say. So Morgan gave some great pointers at the beginning of our presentation, but to my community foundation partners, Andrea and Danielle, I wondered what advice you might give to help students stand out in their scholarship application. So what might they do to really make their application shine? So Andrea, what thoughts do you have about that?
Well, when you're, Morgan talked a lot about when you're completing the essay and to make sure to proof it. You can also type your essay in Word, and then you can spell check it. You can send it to other people to read and then copy and paste it in your application. And also when you're completing that essay, or when you're writing about different groups or clubs you've joined, if there are acronyms like YAC, YAC stands for Youth Advisory Council, spell that all the way out. Don't make the committee guess. They may not be familiar with all the groups that are out there that kids can be involved in or students can be involved in. And so you don't want to make them guess or have to do extra work to figure it out. Really spell it out and make sure that your application really reflects who you are. Make sure you include everything, all of your activities, your experiences. Even if it was only an activity you were involved in 1 year, that's still a part of who you are and what you were involved in. And on our application, the 4th essay question is about special circumstances. Maybe you had family issues. Maybe you had a drop in grades in 1 year due to a particular circumstance. Make sure that that is the place to talk about that stuff and really share what happened, and that gives you a chance to really make yourself stand out. So make sure you really think about that and don't just put 1 or 2 sentences, but let it say who you are.
It's great. Those are great tips, Andrea. Thank you. Danielle, what about you? What would you add?
So everyone's been talking a lot about essay questions, and I know they can be daunting, but I also want to mention a couple things about essay questions. This is really the time to shine and the time to stand out. And we often get scholarship applications that have like a sentence answer, and there's just not enough to go on there. When we send your application to this committee of 5 people who are reading over 200 applications, they really need more to go on to select a certain scholarship recipient. And think outside of the box when you're, Andrea touched on this, but thinking your health job, but you used to walk your neighbor's dog every weekend, or you babysat for the girl down the road. Think about those things as well. And we have that same final question that Andrea mentioned, where we ask you to talk about a special circumstance. And I just want to mention with that, that it's also important to think about, we often look at that as something negative, tell us something negative that you've overcome. But I just want to mention, you can also be very positive here. You can talk about how hard you've worked to, to get where you are, or how passionate you are about becoming a teacher for so-and-so reasons. Just think outside of the box and shine. Everybody has something special about them, and don't be afraid to lay it out there.
That's great. Yeah, thank you both. And we have that fourth essay question as well. So that goes to show you how important it is and how much we value that. It remains the same across the board. The one thing I will add about essays is, while I think it's great to have maybe kind of one base essay written, because a lot of scholarship applications are going to ask you the same question, please make sure when you're proofreading and when you're thinking about it, really make sure that you're answering that specific question. I have seen it before where we might get an essay that is talking about a very specific scholarship because somebody forgot to take that part out or change and tweak their essay to fit the question that's being asked. So as much as I think it's great to kind of have that information in one place that you can pull from, make sure that you're adding something a little bit special or unique to that particular application. All right, so college advisors, my question for you is, and this was a question that was submitted prior to this evening, if a student doesn't meet all of the scholarship criteria, so perhaps they meet some, but they maybe don't meet all of the criteria, should they still apply? What advice would you give them about that? So I'll open it up to Morgan and Julie and Trevor. Don't all go at once. Trevor, do you have anything you'd add to that?
Yes, sorry. I seem to be having just a little bit of trouble with my computer at the moment. But so when it comes to picking scholarships and what you should apply for, generally my advice would be to avoid scholarships that you don't necessarily fit all of the eligibility requirements for. If only because there are scholarships that you will be eligible for. So it's best to kind of, if you find one that doesn't fit, or if they have some kind of eligibility requirements that you don't fit, it's best to keep moving, find something that you are eligible for, and focus on what you can apply for, because that money is there for someone, even if it's not for you.
Yeah, that is
Anything
great.
else to add?
Yeah. Morgan or Jaylee, anything you'd add to that?
No, I think that was pretty well said.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. I think that's a great point. It's not an efficient use of your time, really, if you don't, if you're not eligible. And I think, like Trevor said, there is something for you out there that you would be eligible for. Now, with Community Foundation scholarships, I will say, please apply. Please take it seriously, because like we said, we have many funds, and this is a way for us to determine if you fit into any of them. So make sure that you complete that one. I'm going to skip this. What other advice? I think we've given you a lot, and I want to give our participants the opportunity to ask a question. If we need to, we can certainly come back to this, and I welcome anyone on our panel to add some additional advice. But if you have a question, please feel free to submit it through the chat, or if you are on the phone, feel free to unmute and let us know what your question is or questions are. And Danielle, if you see any come through, let us know.
I do just want to point out, Jody had a good note that she put into the chat that the same is true about the My Scholarships application that colleges use, that everyone should apply and they'll work out which you are eligible for or not.
Yes, thank you, Jody. That's great.